Hello, everybody. I am Yannis Pappas. Welcome to the Yannis Pappas Hour. This week has been different than every other week. Everything is over. The wars are over. The world is back to normal. Climate change has stopped. All the things that we were worried about have stopped. The war in Ukraine and Russia has stopped. It's all been stopped. A compilation video from Hollywood and a book of poems from Megan Fox has been sent out and disseminated to all of Hamas, all of the IDF, to Putin, to Zelensky, down into Somalia, where there's, I pick a struggle, pick a thing happening. I think that they got assaulted by Mother Nature. There was like a flood or something. A lot of people are dead. Over to Afghanistan, Megan Fox's book of poems made their way all the way to the border of Pakistan and Afghanistan, where 1.6 or 7, who's counting? Afghani refugees are being kicked out of Pakistan. And Megan's book of poems made it there, and the Pakistanis said, Ali Akbar, but they changed Ali to Megan Fox Akbar. She did it. The book of poems that we've been waiting for, that's been prophesized about in the book of Yahweh, in the book of David, in the Quran, in the Torah, in the Dead Sea Scrolls, has finally come to be. And you want to tell me that there is no God? Finally, Megan Fox has spoken with a book of poems. I didn't know that a book of poems by Megan Fox was going to heal this nation, heal the civil strife. Everyone has put down their AR-15s. You got purple-haired Starbucks baristas who love to tear down Israeli hostage posters, hugging guys in boots in Odessa, Texas, and crying. Everyone is having a cathartic EDMR experience. Candace Owens has now reverted back to liberal, saying this conservative shtick has run its course. Rashida Tlaib, I'll just call her Tlaib Kweli, has issued an apology about her River to the Sea statement, saying she was referencing Mark Twain and the Mississippi River and wanting peace and doves everywhere. Pick the world you want to live in, because I just picked mine. Everything's great. And Odell Beckham Jr. is still on the Giants and was never a problem. And our quarterbacks needn't just get blown out by an ACL. And I forgot his name because I'm blacking it out.
Danny Dimes.
Danny Dimes, who throws no dimes because the Giants are just a running game. That's all we have with no offensive line. And all I can say is I want to know from a meme from one of you, how many stars of David are there in that front office? Because that's got to be it. This is the Yannis Pappas Hour. Put your scuba suit on. We're going deep. And by deep, I mean the kiddie pool.
Yannis Pappas. Yeah. When you all tucked up in the David Long, and the news online going on and on, what's right and wrong, and it's something up. Now here comes a great kid you know you can trust. From the true who's who, to the news and cameras, to the fake politics and the propaganda. Yeah, this kid screwed in, got a lot to say. Aw, shit, it's about to be a long day. It's a long day.
I just don't know why there are not memes with how many Star Davids we got in the Giant organization, because who are we going to blame it on? It's just another bad season. It's the only sport that my wife watches and likes, and we watch it together. It's a family event. My daughter says, go Giants. That's what she says. And even she said, she's 3, and even she said, freak. Go Jets. When's Aaron Rodgers coming back from his vaccine injury? She's had enough. Even my 3-year-old daughter's had enough. We need a storyline. We need a storyline in New York just to give us some hope. Can Daniel Jones start dating recently unemployed Bella Hadid? And she converts him to be pro-Palestine, and then he starts marching, and then he rips down a poster. Just something interesting. Give me something juicy. I want to make this newsroom horny. I did find some news. I had to sift through. You know what I felt like? I felt like an old school DJ this week in a record store, just sifting through records, and those records being just Israel Hamas news, to try to find anything else to talk about because I think we've really exhausted it. And if you don't think we've really exhausted it on this podcast, just go to my Twitter where I am a paid activist for the IDF. I'm sure a lot of people think that because I state some historical facts that are inconvenient to what a lot of people want to think. That's all. You just state a few facts, and people get upset. But we'll start with Rashida Tlaib Kweli. Why do I have problems with her name? Is it because she looks like every woman I did social work with? She looks like every Hispanic woman I did social work with. She's not Hispanic. But tell me that doesn't look like a Hispanic woman from Starrick City. You know? Who got a couple kids.
Yep.
I mean, but she's Palestinian. She was elected in this great country in the Michigan district, which I assume's got a lot of Muslims. I don't know if it's a lot of Palestinians, but there's Muslims. It's very terrible what's happening over there. I am against bad things, especially when children are being killed, no matter what their faith. I agree with Rashida Tlaib Kweli on that. It's bad. It's all bad. But if you go on Twitter, you hear words like genocide. Now, genocide, that word is used the way people use goat. You know how they just say, oh, Jerry Seinfeld's the goat. Oh, Kramer's the goat. Oh, God, Yanni, you're the goat. It's just the goat is just thrown around now. If you don't know goat, if you don't have any black friends, goat means greatest of all time. It's another great one that they came up with. GOAT. It's an acronym for greatest of all. Tom Brady, GOAT. And that one's probably true, but everyone's the freaking GOAT nowadays. It's the same thing with genocide. Anything's a genocide. Hopefully, it's a fun word. It's a funny thing to call something a genocide. I would like to go in there and into a restaurant, have a bad meal and be like, this was a genocide, just to use it that way. But what a genocide actually means is it's a term that refers to the deliberate and systematic extermination or attempted extermination of a national, ethnic, racial, or religious group. It involves acts such as killing members of a targeted group, causing serious bodily or mentally harm, imposing conditions intending to bring about the group's physical destruction, preventing births within this group. Let me repeat that part. Preventing births within this group or forcibly transferring children from the targeted group to another group. We've seen many of these things happen throughout history. One famous one that doesn't get a lot of recognition is the March of Death, the Armenian March of Death. The Christian Armenians marched out, I think, to Syria, starved out, they killed, they were expunged from their land, get out, bye, see ya. See you later. By the Muslim Turks, or the Ottomans, you should call them. It was called the March of Death. It's a term used to describe the Armenian genocide during World War I. By the way, the Ottomans sided with the Germans. Or back then, what were they? Austro-Hungarian, whatever they wanted to call themselves, okay? It's the same thing the Chinese do. I get it. You're Filipino. Wink, wink, wink. You're German. So they forced them to be deported. They put them on death marches, meaning you just keep walking until you drop. Civilians, children, forcibly removed from their homes and communities, often with very little notice. They were forced to march a long distance through harsh conditions, including extreme weather, lack of food and water, and brutal treatment by Ottoman soldiers and authorities. A lot of them died from starvation, exposure, disease, and just being killed. Those who survived faced unimaginable suffering and loss. This also happened to the Kurds, the Kurdish people. The Turks have been doing that. They still do that. That's a genocide. Want them out, kick them out, get out. Here we are. You're out, gone, out. You're gone. And your numbers are down. And a million, I think it was a million, or some people say 1.5, some people say a million, gone. Genocide, gone. Holocaust, genocide. Intended, targeted, to get rid of the Jews. Now, a lot of people use the term genocide to refer to what's happening to the Palestinians. Now, although brutal in many aspects, the amazing thing about what's happened in Palestine is despite them being relegated to 2 sections of land in the Holy Land, their population has grown dramatically. The Palestinian population has gone way up. So it is the most unique instance of genocide where one set of persons was trying to exterminate another set of people, and it had the opposite effect. So again, the Jews are working their wizardry in some way, and they're trying to exterminate a people because of these accusations of genocide, but the population has increased a crazy amount. The birth rate is crazy. Now, what's that due to? It's a higher birth rate, better conditions, better health care, and I think a lack of systematic killing from the Jews. I mean, I'm just saying, if there was a systematic killing of Palestinians, then their numbers would go down. That's what happens in a genocide. You don't call a population increase genocide. Now, that doesn't go to say that they're not, restricted, controlled, that there's an occupation, a de facto occupation kind of happening in those 2 places. But it's happening from Israel. It doesn't happen within those 2 sections. People always call it an occupation, but you're going like, if it was an occupation, how are they able to put all those rockets in there? There's no Israeli military inside of Gaza. So my mother lived on an island that was occupied, where the German soldiers were there occupying the island with military force. The Israeli military is on the Israeli side going, if you come in, we want to check everything. It seems like a defensive posture. They're not in. Now it's offensive. Now they're going, hey, we're taking control. All right, have your opinion about that. But I'm just saying, I'm just trying to weed through all the fucking bullshit and talk about what actually is. Talk about what actually is. And if people talk about this fucking issue, they like to start it whenever they find it convenient. But this is obviously a beginning of time fucking issue. This is the one issue where you got to go fucking all the way back. And for some reason, this fucking little tiny strip of goddamn land, this tiny little, the size of New Jersey, amidst the sea of Muslim countries, is causing all this problem. After the Ottomans lost the war in World War I, the British took control. The British carved up a plan, I think it was called the Peel or something, where the Palestinians got the majority of it. They get the majority. Here's the thing. You got to know when to leave the casino. A lot of people have gambling problems. They get a little greedy. They want too much. They overplay their hand. You got to know when to walk away. You got to know when to cut a deal. I do it all the time with my daughter. Hey, you're running around without your pants on, okay? If you put your pants on, I'll give you a lolly. And it works sometimes. So the first, I think the British proposed deal, yes, the British have carved up a lot of shit and caused a lot of problems. I get that too. But I'm just saying, in this deal, the first deal, I think it was called the Peel. Can you look it up? The Peel Commission or so, the Peel, British Peel, something like that. The Arabs would have gotten more land than the Peel Commission. Right. That's what it was called, the Peel Commission. They were carving it up, and that was the first one. And that was after World War I. So that was after the Ottomans lost. They sided with the always moral, never seeking to expand Austro-Hungarians, Austrians, Germans, whatever you want to call them. I like to call them snow monkeys. That's me personally. You call them whatever you want. But they made this proposal, and they were going to, there's been multiple proposals is my point. That one was going to be bigger land. Now, that doesn't go to say there would have been problems later on. Who knows? But at least You go, what would have happened if someone just took the deal and said, all right, the Jews are going to get this and we're going to get that and it is what it is and bum zitty bum bum. A couple people have to move. That happens. It's what do you want me to do? It's not America. You guys don't have rule of law. You guys are all freaking. What do you want me to do? It's wars happening over there. We don't have to deal with that here because there's no wars because guess what? God loves the red, white, and blue. And he put a couple of oceans and hardworking Mexicans under us and docile Canadians above us. We're not going to get attacked by docile Canadians. And we're never going to be invaded by Mexicans. They make too much money dealing us drugs. And we make too much money dealing them guns, which is one of my favorite facts, is that they send us tons of drugs. They get all their guns from us. The Mexican cartels get their guns from America, which is fun. That's a great deal. So I'm sorry that my, grandparents were smart enough. My grandfather was smart enough to get out of the fucking Ottoman Empire. Where for 400 years, my family was just what they call a dhimmi, a second-class citizen, which is basically a slave, and had to pay a giza, which is basically an extortion tax to remain Christian. If they did, I don't know what my family did. Maybe they pretended to be Muslim. A lot of people just converted to avoid the tax. Now, this is how you know Jews maybe aren't that cheap, because the Ottomans said, in order for you to keep your religion, you have to, first of all, you're a dhimmi. That means you don't have the same rights as the Muslims. You're a second-class citizen. But if you want to keep practicing your religion, you got to pay a giza or however you pronounce it, giza. And the Jews, being the stereotype is, right, they're cheap and they always looking to cut a deal. They're very good with money, I will say that. But you would think that they would go, you know what, I'll just fucking pretend to be Muslim and get out of this giza tax. But they didn't. They stayed Jewish and they paid the tax because sit and shiva meant that much to them. And I guess latkes, they think taste good. I mean, it's fucking, they're home fries. It's disgusting. They're home fries drenched in oil. Every time I've had a Jewish neighbor come and hand me some fucking latkes, it's like, yeah, I could have went to Wendy's. I mean, what are you handing me? A fried flat potato with and they always go, oh, you put some applesauce. Oh, applesauce. Oh, that'll make it delicious. If I'll put a food that I don't eat 365 days of the year, a food I don't think about for years. I don't think about applesauce. There's been years that have gone by that I don't think about applesauce. Now you've brought something into my home on your holiday that you're saying just needs a little dab of applesauce. Jewish cuisine is, outside of the bagel, and the Reuben is just a sandwich. Pastrami. I mean, what are we talking about? It's meat and 2 pieces of bread. Do the Jews have a sauce? And let's be honest, the rest of their food has been stolen from the Arabs.
Mustard. Their sauce is mustard.
I guess mustard, but did they invent mustard? I think it's British. And let's not get started about those fucking people's cuisines. You got to know when to walk away from the casino, okay? This was way back in the 1930s, right? 1936, 1937. So the partition plan didn't work. And then you know what happened after that. Everybody knows what happened. There was a UN resolution, I've said, in 47, where the UN goes, all right, this is what we'll do. This is how we'll solve this issue. Bang, bang, we'll partition it again. And again, they said no. And then, of course, after that, there's been multiple chances to try to do this. Now, the reason I bring this up is not because I'm defending Israel, you small-minded, activist, brainwashed, naive, idealism-driven, childless, fucking lost souls. Okay, it's because I'm an older person, I can see the bigger picture, and I understand sometimes you got to cut a deal. I also understand that I don't deal in idealism anymore. I don't deal in what should be, what could be. I deal in let's cut a deal in the real world and make this work and stop the bloodshed, because nobody's ever going to be happy. You got to cut a freaking deal. So my point is, what would have been different if a deal was cut? They rejected in 47 another partition plan. So what? And then subsequent partition plans. And then yes, Yatsim Rabin was killed by a radical, by one crazy Israeli who thought he was going too soft on him. Yes, that happened, but that doesn't indicate he was speaking for all of Israeli people. Obviously, Yitzhak Rabin was, because he was in office. So people always point to that and go like, yeah. And they go like, oh yeah, but look at that. You're like, yeah, that was one crazy dude who killed the guy. So yeah, there's forces in Israel. This isn't a comic book. You got, moderate Muslims, you got extreme Muslims, you got very religious Muslims, you got moderate Muslims, you got Muslims who like to fly planes and bang hookers. I mean, I have Muslim friends who I'll go to eat a bacon cheeseburger with. I mean, you know what it is. I got Jews that'll have a cheeseburger as well. I've seen a Jew eat a strip of bacon and gone, I've seen it all. I've seen them enjoy cheese with their meat. I've seen them even date Gentiles. I've seen it all. There's variation here. So yes, people say, oh, that ruined the peace, but it was Israel, it was some Jew, some radical, yeah. But there was multiple proposals on the table at different times, Camp David. Now, that they were always accepted by the Jews and rejected by the Arabs. It makes me believe one of two things. One, the Arabs were getting a real short end of the stick, and you can prove that to me in the comments. Just write where and how they were getting the short end of the stick or whatever, or the shorter. I mean, it had to be better than now. So like, yeah, maybe you didn't have the power. I mean, what do you want me to do? That's how it works in the world. The powerful country goes like, take it or leave it. Usually they just wipe you out. That's what the rest of the world does. Usually they just try to wipe you out throughout history. So at least there was a deal on the table here for them to remain, and they didn't happen. Or the other option is the Palestinians and all the Arabs and all the surrounding countries just want the Jews out. Now, they usually say that. That's the one they say. For some strange reason, what people hear, like I've said in a previous episode, is two-state solution. But what I've always hear is from the river to the sea. Now, from the river to the sea, according to Talib Kweli, is just an amorphous of a cry of freedom. It has no relevance. She didn't mean it that way. That's like me going, I'm hungry, but actually I was like, oh, I'm sorry. What it really means is I got to go to the bathroom. And you're like, but why'd you say you were hungry? You're like, I don't know. Because what from the river to the sea means is no Jews. It means Palestine just goes to the Arabs. Palestine, which was never a country. There was never a country called Palestine. Okay, again, I'm working for the IDF. I know. By saying facts, I'm working for the IDF. I mean, what the fuck has happened to my beloved country? Nobody has any concern for the women's rights in a lot of these countries. Nobody has any concerns for the gay rights in a lot of these countries. Nobody has any concern for the innocent people there that are being forced by dictators or theocrats or terrorist organizations that control their life. They think it's just rosy over there, that everyone's just going, we love Hamas. Nah, dude. They fucking brutalize those people too. There's no concern for that because, people can't think like that. It's a comic book to them because it's very easy to be a comic book when you're so far removed from it. Why do the Israelis act that way? Maybe because they keep hearing that we want to wipe you all out. Maybe they keep hearing all these, mullahs or whatever they're called. Coaches, Muslim coaches. Is that the coach? The guy up there who's always giving the speech? And he's always saying, he's never going like, all right. You never hear one of them go, all right, listen. Israel's well established at this point. We got to just we can't look back, all right? We want to really improve the lives of the Palestinians because we care about life, not death. No, you don't hear that. You hear, we welcome death. We love death. The problem is they don't care. We welcome death. You're going like, all right, that's a little scary. I'm still a little scared because you guys are saying I welcome death. And you're also saying every chance you get from the river to the sea and the occupation, you're going, what occupation? Where? Which parts? And what part is being occupied? And then they finally always admit, they go, The whole thing, all of Palestine. And you're going like, all right, so how can we cut a deal here? What's the deal if you're saying the whole thing? Do you think Israel's going to get up and go? What are you going to do with how many, I don't know how many Jews are there. What's the population there? Israel's 20% Arab, by the way. So what about the Israeli Arabs? What happens to them? Does any realistic questions get asked? Or can I only ask them because I'm a paid informant of the IDF? Just like I'm a paid informant of the Hillary campaign. That'd be funny if they actually reached out to low-level podcasters for their propaganda points. Internet is really hurting people's brains a lot. It does a lot of good, but of course, like all powerful things, I think now we can see, I think it's mostly bad. I think now we're tipping towards bad, especially around stuff like this. It's fine for like dancing in your kitchen or cooking some shitty meal that you tell people about, like, look what I'm making. Today we're doing steak franchise or whatever. It's good for shit like that. It's good for comedy. But when it comes to like horrible things happening that really require nuance, detail, and rigorous examination and understanding, it ain't doing any good. And also the American universities have not helped in this by the teachers being so scared of their students. They're scared to say anything. Dude, they're scared to say anything that would imply that history was anything other than a good and evil struggle between white colonizers and otherwise. And that has usurped all of history everywhere, from our top universities to the bottom. Let's just make that clear. That's what's happened. You don't have to be a Democrat or Republican. It's not a Democrat-Republican issue. It's just a cultural issue. That's what's happened. It's an overcorrection. It's a guilty thing, and it's an intimidation thing. It's purely an intimidation thing. Whenever you try to say anything like this, you just get yelled. These people yell their emotions. They just yell, and you're going like, but it's like it's the same thing as when you say like, are trans women women? And they just start yelling. You're going like, hey man, I love trans women. I'm just asking you, are they really the same? And you just get yelled at. And so that's an offshoot of what our society in the West has become, in Europe and in America. It's this thing you just get yelled at by these young, dumb fucks who are full of cum and not a lot of facts. And they just yell. And that's what's happened. That is, we're living in the culmination, the full culmination. We're living in the full consequences of what I just described. So, for your edification, from the river to the sea, which was yelled by an American congresswoman. Not saying whether it's good or bad. I'm just saying to you, Israel is one of our most coveted allies for their location, because they share our values in a lot of ways of democracy, rule of law, whether you like it or not. These are just facts. Human rights, individual rights. Like in Israel, if a Israeli man shoots an Arab man, he has to go to court. There's like, and people will write whatever they write and say, blah, blah, blah about the settlers. I know there's problems there too. I know there's problems with the different parties, the Likud party. I know the details. I'm saying at least there's a pride parade in Israel. You will not see that anywhere in the countries that surround it, because that is illegal. Not only is it discouraged, it's illegal. You will be killed or sent to prison, or you're gone. You do not have rights. But in Israel, you do. These are facts. Do with them what you want. My point is being, we had for the first time, really, it used to be funny because we all used to make jokes about how much influence Israel has on the country, because they do. I mean, their lobby and everything. And so comedians would always joke, especially me, I'd always joke about how many times are they going to say Israel. Every debate, I remember saying, like, take a drink every time they say Israel. Like during a debate, both sides would say Israel. And they would try to outdo each other about who supports Israel more. And you're always going like, all right, how much power does this lobby have? We're giving you guys all the money in the fucking world. But our foreign policy it's always been a strategic ally because I think generally we view theocracies and dictatorships as bad things and a problem. And, there's oil over there, but that's not the full fucking story. Or like I said, we would have attacked Calgary, Alberta. We haven't, right? They have all their oil. They sell it to us. We don't attack them. It's not about that. America, when you're an empire, it's very hard to just be not involved in the rest of the world, because it's a power struggle and you gotta be out there and finding out what's going on. Who's trying to get me? I'm the king of the hill. Who's trying to come and get me? What kind of philosophies or religions or dictators or personalities are posing a threat to my interests? I know I'm talking like an adult. I know, children, nobody should have any interests. Nobody should have phones. These come from, if you're going to tweet, know where it comes from. And just shut your mouth. And it doesn't cost $500 because you didn't have to make it, you spoiled fuck. Morally, do I love that? I try not to think about it. I suggest you do the same. But if you are going to open your mouth, write me a fucking letter. But don't write me a letter because that's bad for the trees. So just find me, walk. And don't take a car either because there's gas. What are we doing? You get my point? What are we doing? I think we should put everyone under 35 in jail. Is that a good solution? Enough with these kids. And it's not the same as the Vietnam era and all these eras. It's different. It's different. This is a different thing that has taken hold because it's now you see it not in just in the universities. Like I said, an American congresswoman screamed from the river to the sea about which I will tell you means she said it's an aspirational call for freedom, human rights, and peaceful coexistence. Not death, destruction, or hate. My work in advocacy is always centered in justice and dignity for all the people, no matter faith or ethnicity. And that's why she spoke up so vociferously about all the Israeli citizens that were slaughtered in cold blood in a brutal, brutal fashion, which people on the internet will always say there's no evidence for, whatever, even though journalists went and saw it and saw compilations. There's footage. I mean, it's just, I guess the Israelis aren't plastering it everywhere as fucking tragedy porn because, which they maybe should, so they can get like a Sean King figure on their side to be like, look at, I'm trying to get followers and I'll post this shit. But in actuality, from the river to the sea means, right, the Jordan River to the Mediterranean Sea. What's in between there? From the Jordan River, okay. I'm not even, I don't make maps. I'm not a topographer. But I can tell you, there's a Jordan River. I'm looking at here. Here's the river. And there's the Mediterranean Sea. And in between, right here, is just one big synagogue. There it is. The Jordan River right there. You see it? You see that good little, It's water. See that little water there? There's a river that goes down there. And then the sea's over there. So from the river to the sea, Palestine will be free. Again, Palestine is a thing that's been made now. There was no Palestine. There was the Ottoman Empire, where there was just people there who were under the control of the Ottomans. It was the Ottomans. It was part of the Ottoman Empire. On the map, it was Ottoman Empire. So obviously from the river to the sea is a chant that now, listen, to be fair, from the river to the sea still means that to a lot of people. Still means destruction. But maybe like the N-word, if you change a letter, it means something different. Maybe it just means peace cry now. That happens. Like the word agate, right? It used to mean, that guy likes having sex with men and I hate that. Now it means my friend ordered a salad. So that's possible too. Now, I'm giving her the benefit of the doubt. See, I'm fair. I'm a fair newsman. Guys, you can scream all you want, and please do, because it's good for engagement. But I do want to remind you, I am I am subject to no rigorous scrutiny. This is not a news show. If you don't know the premise of the show, I do dive head on into issues that a lot of comedians will only talk about privately, but publicly will just go, hey man, yeah, I mean, let's just, I do that. So will piss some people off, but that's where this happens. You can't find it anywhere else. Nobody goes right in and makes you hate them after an episode that you loved them, like me. So please do scream for all the engagement, but it's like screaming at a stuffed animal. Man. From the river to the sea. Oh, that you didn't pull up the other thing. Okay. So where was I? Okay, so it was the Ottoman Empire. They're not even technically called Palestinians, right? Like it's a Roman word based in the Philistines. When the Romans kicked the Jews out, they named Judea. Before it was called Judea, because even the Romans acknowledged that it was the Jews' spot, right? So it's called Judea, because there was a kingdom of Judea there, and then they called it Palestine or whatever, or Philistine, because the Jews killed the Philistines. They were the enemies fighting over that land before that, and the Jews won. So to mess with the Jews, because the Romans hated the Jews, they called it Palestina or something like that. Who cares? You get the point. But it goes back. The original people there were Canaanites and Philistines. We've talked about this. But then the Jews were right there. They were on that land at the same time as the Canaanites and the Philistines. Now, a lot of those Arabs that are there, they became Arabs Muslim because of the conquests. The Muslims aren't indigenous from there. They came. Arabs came from the Arabian Peninsula, and a lot of those quote unquote Palestinians now, Arabs or whatever, have Canaanite DNA. Probably most of them, maybe, or some of them have some Philistine. They're in there, so they are indigenous to there as well. As far as you can be indigenous, but that's not what sovereign nations are based on. What country in the world goes, this country is the country of the people who were there first? Or else the whole world would just be Neanderthals or early humans, Cro-Magnon man. People have been wiping people out since the beginning of time, and whoever's the stronger one kind of sets up the land, and it's how it is. I'm sure the Jews hated it when they were kicked out, which allowed for what are now called Palestinians to make them homes. I'm sure a lot of homes were set up where Jews used to be before the Romans were like, get out of here, right? And the Jews were like, oh, God, again? We just fucking marched out of Egypt while we were slaves. They keep fucking coming for us. So the point is, the Jews are also as indigenous to that place as anyone else, as far as you want to consider anyone indigenous. They were there with the Canaanites. They were there with the Philistines, which is as far back as you can go. And you have to, because that's what this story is about. Now, the Jews are there. They've set up a country. It's a first world country, highly technologically advanced, rule of law, all that. It ain't going anywhere. Here's another thing. They got nukes, so you can't take them either. So there's got to be a deal. We got to make a deal. We got to put a deal on the table. So when Congresswoman says from the river to the sea, you're going like, what are you doing? Now she's backtracked, of course, because even she knows she's fucked up. I understand she's emotional. I'm Greek. I might get emotional if I was Greek and I was talking about some Greek issue shit. I might call the Turks something bad in a speech. I may say that. But that's why I would never be elected to Congress. When did we start electing these people to Congress who just can't think, who can't be political, who don't know how to talk with a controlled statesman or stateswoman like manner and consider the consequences and all parties and American interests. She got a little emotional. Then she got on the House floor and she started crying again. Now, I get it. She's a woman. Their brains are smaller. Their hearts are bigger. So they cry more. That I understand. And yes, horrible things are happening over there. But also, and this is where it sucks being an adult, guys. The rockets were being launched. I saw the photos. One was like in a child's playground, and you just see all the rocket apparatus there. You know, where are they launching it from? And then you go, well, why is it they have no place else to launch it from? You're going, we could go on forever and ever, but I could also say, how about they just don't launch rockets and try to do some diplomacy and work something out good for their shit and make it happen? Because this ain't going to work. And anyone who's calling and this is where I get emotional, because lives will be lost. Palestinian lives will be lost, more so than Israeli, because calls for the river to the sea, you might as well be yelling help in an ocean. It's like, it's not going to happen. You're not getting rid of Israel. It's not going anywhere. So it just lets you know, hey, maybe let me think about the Israeli perspective. We just keep hearing you guys say from the river to the sea, you keep saying we'll have the whole thing back. The whole area will be clean of Jews. You're seeing these posters of people putting Star of David flags in the trash can saying keep the world free. You're going, that doesn't sound like a negotiated two-state solution. That sounds like you want to clean the area of Jews, which is not going to happen. You can keep yelling it. You can keep yelling it. You can keep protesting. But you will keep contributing to the death of people, because without some sort of deal where both sides are miserable, that the international community kind of forces them into, because enough of this fucking shit. I've had enough. Have you not had enough? I mean, I've had a fucking enough. If I hear one more peep out of these motherfuckers, I would love to invade Jerusalem and fucking kick them both out at this point. Okay? It's not your toy anymore. Well, I'm giving it to Buddhists. Turn it into put an elephant. I don't give a shit what you do. I've had enough. Give it to atheists. Kick them all out. Can't do that either, because Israel would bomb us. You can't do anything. I mean, and until people start operating from that premise that Israel's a sovereign nation that will remain there, there's going to be no solution. So that's the problem. You can yell about what's right and wrong all you long. I'm not even getting into whether who's right or who's wrong. That we could talk about that endlessly, because that's what they do. And those types of conversations just continue to perpetuate the misery over there, because that solves nothing, and it never will. Into perpetuity, it just never will. Okay, all right, so the Jews are more wrong. Okay, well, the Palestinians shouldn't be launching rockets. Okay, what now? So what now? And nobody has anything to say what now. So it's like, how much do you really care about Palestinian kids if you're chanting from the river to the sea? That's my point. That is my point. If you're a female congresswoman chanting from the river to the sea, how much do you truly care about Palestinian women? Right? Because someone could have sat you down and go, hey, listen, the Jews don't like that. And they're not going anywhere. So what's that going to do except aggravate them further, make them more scared, because they're fighting for their survival, because they know everyone wants them gone. So what do you think that's going to do? Exacerbate the situation. Hey, Hamas, how about that? How come never anyone asked, what did Hamas think was going to happen? Right? They know the Israelis. They know how they do business. They knew who was in office. I've said it many times. I've made the joke. There's no brake pedal in that Tesla. And that by that Tesla, I mean Bibi Netanyahu. So what were they thinking? Were they hoping, is it because they don't value the life of Palestinians much? They value the cause more? And so when you hear Israelis say that, when Palestinians start caring about their children more than they hate Israel, you're going like, is there truth to that? Because why else would they kill all those citizens in such a brutal fashion? Are they just that stupid and naive to think that Israel's not going to respond and not respond a lot harder than what they did? Is anyone thinking? Nobody's thinking when they're emotional. And that's my point. So we need psychopaths back in office everywhere. You know, I'll take a psychopath over a zealot any day, because at least the psychopath cares about his interest, right? So with Putin and Z, you got two psychopaths, right? No emotion, will kill you no matter what, but their egos are massive. They don't want to die. Whereas these theocrats are like, let's all go to paradise together. We'll be welcomed even more if we take a couple Jews with us. You're going like, all right, I can't reason with these people. At least with Putin, you can play to his self-interest, his ego, his expansionist fantasies. You know, he's not just gonna he's not gonna piss in the wind like a lot of this violence is just pissing in the wind. He's not like stupid. He may have miscalculated the Ukraine a little bit. It seems like he has. But other than that, I mean, this constant barrage on Israel is like, what is that going to do except cost more Palestinian lives? And you guys are thriving as it is just by the numbers. I know people died. I'm just saying, bigger picture, let's pull out. I didn't do it. I'm just saying the word genocide does not mean a population increase, and not just a little increase, a massive increase. There you go. IDF, are you happy? Netanyahu, did I do my part? Fans who hate me, do you thoroughly hate me now? I'm not even going to sit here and qualify what I said. If you hate, just go. Just take your stuff and go. Just please tell me what your address is so I can take the house when you leave and give it to someone, give it to a Greek. Maybe my goal on this podcast is to just get to genocide all my fans so I can get all Greek fans. I just want all Greek fans. That's it. That's why I'm doing what I'm doing. God, what I'm saying is so reasonable. If I heard it from somebody else's mouth, I'd be like, I want to listen to this guy. I wish more people were listening to this guy. And that's probably why less people are, because the world is just in an upheaval of emotion. When did everyone start acting like chicks? I'm looking out for Palestinians with what I'm saying. Obviously. Because this other, shall we call it modus operandi, does not seem to be working. And all they do is just blame the Jews for it. You're going like, okay, yeah, the Jews did it, but why did the Jews do it? What happened? Seems to be almost all of it was a response to some sort of aggression, whether those be rockets, whether those be invading armies. I mean, which war did the Jews start? Which one? When did they attack an Arab country? Right? After the partition plan by the United Nations in 1947 that the Jews accepted with an they were giving up Jerusalem. Are you guys listening to me? They agreed to give up control of Jerusalem to the international community in that deal. The Arabs rejected it, and then afterwards, other Arab countries, who obviously were acting on behest of the Palestinians and their will, to some extent, attacked Israel in 1948, which was right after Israel declared itself a state. Hey, you guys didn't want to do the deal. All right, well, we're not stopping what we were doing. And there's just tons of barrages of Zionism. Yeah, but Zionists would have did this. They were manipulating this way. Yeah, it's like, okay, again, that all happened. So what now? What do we do now? Israel's there. So in 1956, the Suez War, Israel, the United Kingdom, and France fought against Egypt. Israel, the UK, and France invaded Egypt in response to Egypt nationalization of the Suez Canal. Okay, so that was one that wasn't initiated by the Arabs. So there you have one. I take it back and I say I'm not correct, but then the 6-Day War, so it's 1 out of 5. And that doesn't even seem like it was just the Israelis. It sounds like the French and The British wanted something to do with that. 67, Egypt, Jordan, and Syria. Israel achieved a swift victory. The war had far-reaching consequences for the Middle East, including the ongoing Israeli occupation of the West Bank and East Jerusalem. But a 6-day war, Israel was attacked. The war of attrition, something Yom Kippur, that was when they were attacked on their holiday, right? Then you had the first Lebanon war. Israel invaded Lebanon. I'm wrong again. Goal of pushing back. The PLO was in there. Second Intifada. Palestinians rose up. Then you had the Gaza wars in 2008, 2009, 2012, 2014. And then just number 11 is listed as ongoing conflicts. So I guess the Israelis also are a little guilty there, right? They did some initiation. I don't know every detail. So I retract what I said as far as them causing every war. But the point is, let's talk realistically. I understand it's wrong, dude. I know. Like I said, I know. My grandfather's land is no longer his land. They left. What can you do? It sucks, But the Greeks didn't just keep violently launching rockets at North Cyprus or the island of Imbros. It's like, what does that do? You lost it. You're upset about it. You yell about it at bars. You continue to hate Turks, but there's no current bloodshed, man. You see what I'm saying? That's my point. Everyone's miserable. They still hate each other. That'll never change. I mean, these people who think there's going to be like Jews and Arabs walking hand in hand, it ain't going to happen. For whatever reason. I don't want to get into it, but there's no more bloodshed. A lot of these conflicts that are the same exact in anatomy to this conflict, there's many of them in the world where there's just no more bloodshed now because a solution where everyone was miserable was achieved. And that's what a good deal is. When two parties walk away a little miserable, like, we wanted more, but we take this because if we don't take this, and the other side goes, if we don't take this, then this. So let's take the lesser of the fucking two evils. We won't get exactly what we want, but it'll fucking end the bloodshed and people can fucking go to dance parties and do ecstasy in the desert without worrying about paragliders coming in, being led by Alicia Keys to take us out. That's my point. That's all I'm saying. And I think when it comes to Megan Fox's poetry book, it's a little too late. It would have been nice if it could have been put out a little earlier because it has been reported that it has calmed everyone down and it has solved the problem. That and, of course, artists and actors' letter to President Biden, which is really helping his poll numbers one way or the other. It looks like he's going to lose big, and so the Democrats are now thinking about who else should we have run. And those are the only other two things you need to know about right now. His lackluster polls are getting Dems concerned. And here's another concerning one. Donald Trump is leading in Florida over the current governor, very popular current governor, by 30 points in Florida. So this means, I don't think doesn't mean people love Donald Trump per se. It means people are sick of the childish, idealist bullshit. They're sick of this utopia, these sort of policies that seem to be based on utopian ideals. They just go, enough of this shit. What are we doing here? And Donald Trump happens to be a guy that'll just say stuff that a lot of people are thinking, but won't say because they're scared, they're intimidated by the current culture and how that current culture has taken hold. So he'll say something like, you know what? I'll just kick all Hamas-loving protesters out and put up travel bans. And people now, even on the left, are silently going like, don't tell anyone I told you, but that would be great. And they're just walking away. Like, you didn't hear from me, but now I kind of, in my gut, I just say, hey, I want to make it stop. Don't show me how you make it stop. I just want to make it stop. And we all know what I'm saying is true. On both sides, people are starting to think that because people just want some sort of unity, some sort of end to the madness. And you can yell all you want about my points, but again, this is an episode of Yanni operating in reality. You hate Trump? Good. What's that going to get you? Except for a fucking hard-boiled egg with salt on it in the morning. Because guess what? He's leading by 30 points against DeSantis. He's extremely popular. He just blew out Biden in a fucking poll. And the guy's got 91 indictments against him. Imagine if he had no indictments. So you can say whatever you want. You can say, now I'm paid off by the fucking Trump campaign. Again, I don't think at any point during this episode have I said whether any of this stuff is good or bad. I'm mapping it out like an adult. Trump leads Biden in 4 elections, if you're an adult, you know, are not determined in New York and California. They're not determined in Texas. They are determined in swing states. Swing states mean they could go either way. They tip the scales for one side over the other because everyone knows the way Alabama's going to vote. Everyone knows the way Texas is going to vote. Everyone knows the way New York is going to vote. So right now, President Trump currently leads in 4 swing states. He hasn't even said a word on mainstream media either. So this is just running off. And he tacitly kind of improved an insurrection at the fucking Capitol. That still didn't hurt him. So when are you fucking morons gonna go, what bigger thing is happening here? What's the bigger thing? You know? Is it that we're kid gloving defund the police, kid gloving a lot of this rhetoric, allowing all this stuff in university? Are we kid gloving this stuff a little too much? Are we starting to assume that the country is a lot more liberal than we thought? Are we running away after, assuming that victories like gay marriage and all this stuff, that we can just run the table with everything else naively? Yeah, I think that's what's happening. So yeah, I'm asking rhetorical questions. You guys got a little fucking arrogant. You were able to put healthcare through. You were able to put gay rights and gay marriage through. And you just thought, you know what, let's keep going. There's 176 genders. I don't want to see another television show with a white face. I mean, it just went everywhere. It just went all over the place. Every university, we're going to yell about Europeans. And it just went everywhere. It just spread everywhere. And people are going like, we've kind of had enough of it. Now it's to the point where people are throwing Palestinian flags on George Washington's. They're fucking, it's gotten to the point where the paradox of tolerance has reached full capacity. And now it's time for daddy to come home and crack some skulls. So I don't know who I'm going to vote for because I'm not going to tell you. But I'll tell you, I think there's a lot of people out there sick of it. There's a lot of people who are going, you know what? The show Bomb Squad was a good show. I like the show The Squad. But I think it's time that The Squad gets canceled for low ratings. I think there's a lot of people thinking, I don't want to watch that anymore. I think they're going, hey, listen, it was all fun and games when everyone was just looking at me going like, you're a great person, giving me points for the things I was saying. But now I'm actually starting to get worried about my $1 million home's foyer and who might storm it. I'm starting to get a little nervous about who's in control, who's in the cockpit. We've seen these things happen on a more microcosmic level in New York where things just got so out of control. You know, obviously the best and most recent example of that is when Giuliani came in and just cracked skulls. Yes, violated people's rights. Yes, did some unconstitutional things. Yes, in theory, we're all against those things. But Man, was it nice to take the train in the middle of Brooklyn at 2:30 in the morning. Man, was it nice to walk down the street and see them just flooded with people, and they're clean, and everyone's balling out, drinking champagne, going to C-Bar, doing goddamn. Man, that was nice. Did it come with a price? What doesn't? What doesn't? What doesn't? This has been Yannis for the Freedom. This has been Yannis from ONN. This has been Yannis for Breitbart News. I just feel liberated to make a lot of these jokes because there's a lot of people who are sitting there staring at the wall going, what have we done? The gates of hell were open and we didn't even know. And here's the thing. We might have opened them. Did I open them? I'm here again saying it's not rhetorical. You opened the gates of hell. Now you better close those fucking things. And close them by more protests, less police, more cultural studies programs in liberal arts, more of a diverse faculty, more equitable policy for disenfranchised, and let's throw a lot of people in there. Everyone without a white penis. More of that. Let's do that. Let's keep pouring that on. Let's keep doing that. That'll be great. And listen, more of just yelling at Israel for their human rights violations, but not mentioning the human violations anywhere else, including women's rights. And is that not human rights violations? Well, what is human rights violations? What is it? Is it just murder, or what is it? I don't know. Nike, make a commercial about it. You know what I'm talking about. Guys, patreon.com/Yannis Pappas Hour for our bonus episodes. This is the highest numbers we've ever had, and it's because the quality's there. And so I'm proud of that. I will be in Gaza Strip, Kiev, Ukraine, and Moscow. Tel Aviv. Providence right now is sold out. That's where I am right this second, so thank you. Phoenix, Arizona, this coming weekend, November 16th and 17th. There are tickets. Go get them. House of Comedy. Spokane, Washington after that, December 1st and 2nd. Louisville after that, December 15th and 16th. Portland, Oregon, Revolution Hall, January 11th. Vancouver, right after that, at the Vogue Theater, January 12th. Cobb's in San Francisco is now February 9th and 10th. So get your tickets for that. It won't be canceled or postponed. Atlanta, February 15th through the 17th. San Diego, February 23rd and 24th. The Vic Theater in Chicago, March 8th. The Royal Theater in Toronto, March 23rd. Cleveland, March 29th and 30th. Tulsa has been moved to April 5th and 6th. Get your tickets. Kansas City, April 11th through the 13th. God, shout out to Jared Z, exclusiveautoshipping.com, and his copy says, Jews and Palestinians welcome. He's a man of peace. He also says Ukrainians and Russians welcome. He's taking everyone's business at exclusiveautoshipping.com. If you're moving your car out of state or you bought a car out of state, hit him up for a free quote. Military and student discounts apply. Chris Minetti, 215-750-3730. Our most loyal shout out from the beginning, Chris Minetti. Maybe he's locked up and his credit card is still working. That could be a possibility. But if you need a check cash, a business check cash in the Philly, South Jersey area, call him up at 215-750-3730 and tell me if he has a store. For the free .art, they list music in Hawaii. DisplayPros.net, been with us a while, so I will tell you, I love DisplayPros.net because they will make your custom trade booth. They create retail fixtures and promotional items like you have never seen. They're better than the competition, okay? They got you covered if you need a custom display. And if you need it in a hurry, they'll make it happen. DisplayPros.net, 10% off. You mention my name. Ma Insurance Services, MA Insurance Services. I mean, nobody does it better in St. Petersburg, Florida than Matthew Albani and his company. His company. It's a company. It's support small insurance companies. They got all types of coverage there. They really run the gamut. Everything you need. Commercial insurance policies, workers' comp, auto, professional liability. The list goes on. All right. So just hit them up at mainsuranceservices.com or call Matthew and ask questions. 813-260-0338. mainsuranceservices.com is the website. CapRatech is your, they'll use their algorithm and tell you how to bet your money. If they work good for you, they work good for a lot of people because CapRatech's doing real well. So if you like to put a little juice on the game, go to CapRatech at capratech.com or download the app at the Apple Store or Google Play and let their freaking AI, their computers go through all the data and let you know what they think the spread's going to be.